That's for Native talking about the thousands of people who have reached out to him since the moment he became the highest Canadian draft pick in the NFL in almost a decade. And his football dreams finally came true.
Remain to the backfield. Second and goal. Into the end zone is Claypool for a Steelers touchdown. Third down and 6. Roethlisberger to a wide open Claypool. Claypool inside the 5 to the end zone. His second touchdown today. 32 yards from Roethlisberger to Claypool. To the backfield.
Yeah, look at the one-on-one matchup with Eric Ebron down at the bottom here.
This is Claypool.
Ooh.
He's in.
Nice.
His third touchdown today. How about that formation? They had slot to the left. Is Claypool. As Roethlisberger throws, Claypool makes the catch. His fourth touchdown today.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Don. You know, the weird thing about having our own show is I can put up completely irrelevant to society video that just talks about my favorite football team and my newest favorite Steeler, all the way from Abbotsford, British Columbia, Chase Claypool.
That was great to see. It was great to see people in stands, sports on, a lot of people on the sidelines, not social distancing because they're all in the bubble. No one's getting sick. It's a good thing.
Okay, there's a few people getting sick in the NFL, but let's start off with some trivia. Who is Ruben Mays? And I know this was not in our speaker notes, but I always like throwing at you an early question.
I know the name, but
You're from Saskatchewan. Come on.
We know all the Rubens in the world. No, unfortunately,
we've eaten all the Rubens in the world.
I cannot answer that question. I do not know.
From North Battlefield, Saskatchewan, Ruben Mays, former Washington State Cougar, was the last Canadian to score multiple touchdowns in an NFL game.
From what team?
At the time, who did he play for? Seahawks. Seattle.
And what year?
Oh, come on now. Now you're getting crazy. So, hey, you and I are loving our football. We're watching football. Talk to me a little bit about what else are people watching right now?
Well, if you look at recent thing on sports viewership, I mean, the demand for live is exceptional. Mm-hmm. The consumption of content is exceptional. But most recently, what are they watching live? The fact is you see these numbers versus last year down significantly, except PGA, WNBA is up. But focus on the bottom left and the top right. NBA playoffs down 37%, Stanley Cup playoffs up 38%. It's one number. The fact is viewership during this off time is down. However, consumption of content, and which we've been preaching for a while, is up significantly. And not to be a stats nerd, but I am. If you look at since July 30th for the NBA, 6.9 billion, that's with a B, videos consumed. 2.6 billion on Instagram, 1 billion of the finals, 1 billion videos, 31 million YouTube, 61 million during the finals. The fact is, this is one number. So sports viewership.
31 million YouTube or 300 million YouTube?
321 million YouTube, 61 million during the finals. Massive record-setting numbers of content being consumed. We're looking at a year 2000 type of scorecard for how properties are being consumed. And the fact is we need to actually consider total consumption. And just as we've talked about, Mark, in the past, is agencies, brands, properties, if they put the content out there, people are dying and salivating for it. They may not be tuning that second, but they might watch after. They might use a different stream. They might watch together. So one number unto its own gives us danger. Sports is here. People are excited. People are ravenous to get back live. Won't be tomorrow, probably spring, fall. But the fact is, that's what people are doing. They're watching everything. They're excited about it. And it gives some zest to life.
So speaking of live, people also want to play sports right now. And love to bring in a special guest today, a woman who I've long admired, an amazing Canadian entrepreneur, Christy Harold. I suspect that many of you have enjoyed Christy's company services and experienced them, and actually have no idea who she is. So Christy, welcome to the show. Love the Canadian flag behind you there. And you know what? I'd love for you to just tell people a little bit about who you are, Toronto Sport and Social, which actually doesn't do you justice because you are, I was going to say pre-COVID, you've become a North American business, but part of your COVID reinvention, you're now a global business. So love to know a little bit about you. And then we want to talk about a letter you wrote in the past few days.
Awesome. Hey, Mark and Don, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. So I am the founder and the CEO of the Sport and Social Group. We run sports leagues for adults. So everything from, softball, soccer, ultimate frisbee, flag football, dodgeball, kickball, inner tube water polo, tennis, you name it, we probably offer it. And I did start the company in 1996. So we're in our 25th year of operation. Thank you. And started it in Toronto with a focus of really staying pretty local for a long time. And it was probably 2016 that I decided we really should spread our wings a bit. We're now in 9 different cities across Ontario and Michigan. We get about 150,000 people off the couch playing sports on an annual basis. And and you know what? Since 96, a couple of years ago, we hit our 100,000th team mark, which was a really big one for me. I was really excited to see so that meant over 1.3 million lives touched in a positive way through our leagues. So,
amazing accomplishment, and it just shows I've known you for a long time because I'm calling you the Toronto Sport and Social Club, and you're now the Sport and Social Group. So my apologies for completely fucking up your brand. But hey,
not the first time,
and won't be the last. But amazing, and so let's start off with Tuesday, October 13th. Actually, let's start off with last Friday.
Last Friday. Let me just backstep a bit. March 13th, we got shut down.
Yep.
Operation stopped.
It was a Friday, by the way.
It was a Friday, yeah.
Friday.
Darkest day in my 25 years of operations. Having to look my team in the eye over video. I was away with my daughter on a March break trip, and having to basically lay off the majority of my team temporarily. Thankfully, we got them all back when wage subsidy was announced, but it was a brutal, brutal day. A lot of tears shed that day. Anyway, so 5 months we were shut down, unable to get people playing. They announced at one point in the summer that we could allow training and practicing, but no games or scrimmages. So we tried that. And the truth is, adult sports, recreational sports, they don't want to train and practice. This isn't little kid competitive soccer. This isn't, a lacrosse team with a coach. This is adults wanting to get out and play some beach volleyball or some softball, some soccer, and just have some laughs and get some exercise with friends. So suffice to say, the training didn't work for our members. We were finally able to get people playing again in August. So for 2 months, August and September, we got people playing. We were at around 35% of our numbers compared to last year. People are scared. The media has created a lot of fear around COVID, and there's definitely some reality to that for sure. I'm not a doctor, and I don't want to speak to that for sure. But on last Friday, Doug Ford announced that more lockdowns again. We backstepped, and the announcements, the way they laid things out, effectively allowed for, restaurants had to stop indoor service, but they could do outdoor. Fitness clubs and gyms had to stop indoor, but they could continue boot camps and classes outdoor. You can continue to go to Eaton Centre and Yorkdale Mall and walk around indoors, passing lots of people. You'll never know who they are as you walk down. You can have an outdoor supervised 100-person wedding right now. You could have a backyard party unsupervised with 25 of your friends. You can have a keg party in your backyard with 25 people. But those same 25 people cannot cross the street and go play an organized game of softball. 12 of those people can't go play beach volleyball in an organized way. It's not allowed. They're not allowing us to play indoor team sports or outdoor team sports. So that's the part that it just blew my mind, is how they're painting team sports. As you guys know, that football clip you just showed, that football game is pretty different from a basketball game, pretty different from a baseball or softball game, or a beach volleyball game or a tennis game, which tennis is allowed. I'm not really sure how they're painting these team sports with one brush when rugby is very, very different from dodgeball or kickball. And so we're really frustrated that a lot of our members want to play and want to be able to get outside right now when we still have a little bit of nice weather left in this country of Canada. But, the snow is going to fly sooner than later. We can still be outside and enjoy the outside, and we're being told we can't. So it's frustrating.
Did you have any warning that was coming before that?
None.
And any conversations since with anyone?
Only with CBC, CTV, CP24. None of the politicians have reached out. And, we represent a lot of people. 150,000 adults want to play and want to be, 150,000 participants annually. A lot of those people want to be able to be outside and playing right now. And the truth is, people are going outside and playing anyway. If you go down to the beaches on any evening right now, you'll see the volleyball courts full of people, but they're not organized. It's pickup. Go to any outdoor beach basketball court right now. You're going to see pickup basketball happening. Groups of people standing around. 20 people will be standing around on the side of outdoor courts and shooting hoops, but they're not organized and they're not. There's no contact tracing happening. But so people are going to play. We can do it in an organized way. And the way we've been doing it since August is we have 50-person bubbles effectively. So we're keeping our leagues to 4 teams. So we know exactly who's inside that group of teams in case there is a case of COVID that happens and we need to let people know. We have the protocols in place to do so.
So, Christy, I want you to play a little game with me here. I'm going to read out the people you sent this letter to, and I want a yes or no answer on whether or not they replied. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario.
No.
Christy Elliott, Deputy Premier of Ontario.
No.
Dr. Eileen Davila, Medical Officer of Health, Toronto Public Health.
No.
Lisa McLeod, Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture.
No.
James Wallace, Acting Chief of Staff to the Premier.
No.
Carlo Olivero, Executive Director of Stakeholder Relations.
No.
Mayor John Tory.
No.
Our Councillor Jay Robinson, who I went to university with.
Yes.
Awesome. I knew Jay would. MP Kathleen Wynne.
Kathleen's office called me and offered to put it out as a motion, and I asked for a conversation with her. So I'm waiting to get a conversation with her.
Kathy Hargraves, City of Toronto Parks and Rec.
I've been in great contact with the City of Toronto. Kathy and Kevin, Jay Robinson have all been extremely helpful all along throughout this period. I haven't heard from them specifically on this letter, but I wasn't really expecting to.
So not surprising, and again, I'm biased. I've known Jay since university. She and I actually negotiated an agreement in 1987. If she's listening, she'll remember, to build new rinks at the University of Guelph. But, we've got premiers and mayors and chiefs of staff who are making decisions. And as I quote your letter, you can have a 25-person kegger, but you can't have a beach volleyball game.
Yeah, 6 versus 6 with a net in between. And they're not tackling each other. Last time I watched a volleyball game, and frankly, we're adults. You're not even breathing that hard. No, I mean, it's not like a real excessive workout. And we're talking about being outside.
I think your point about the shopping centers, walking the Eaton Center, or the places of worship, there's no restrictions there. So it seems as if they just paint a brush across and affect so many people. And I mean, you're talking mental health here, not only your company's financial viability, but mental health of 150,000 or call it 75,000 people during summer. They want to get outdoors more than ever now. They need connection more than ever. And they just arbitrarily, without counsel, shut it, which is...
Yeah. I'm glad to bring that up. The mental health issue is massive. So I was actually asked to give a TEDx talk. It was supposed to be next month. It's been pushed to next year. But the whole talk is on the power of team sports and how team sports have actually been proven to improve mental health. Even more so, we all know exercise is good for both physical and mental health. So going to the gym is fantastic, but team sports is even better for your mental health because of the social connection. So prior to COVID, we're all well aware it's been crisis in terms of the depression, anxiety, loneliness are going through the roof, and that those stats are out there, and our services benefit that. I have received emails from people telling me our leagues saved their life. So we're providing this incredibly powerful service even before COVID. COVID hits, loneliness increases, depression increases, drug overdoses are increasing, suicides have spiked. I know someone personally who lost their spouse to suicide in August, and that my friend specifically said to me, 100% because of COVID. 100% that is why this suicide happened. This is real. This is really happening. Depression is real. Mental health crisis is escalating. And now, as we know, going into the winter, it makes it even worse. We know that. And yet, here we are being told by our province that we cannot play outdoors. We cannot, and yet they're allowing other things. I wish someone had taken the time to say, hey, can we look at the different sports? And can we talk about which ones we can get done safely? How can you guys advise us? We've done this for 25 years. We know a thing or two about getting people playing sports.
Right.
Speak to us and let's get people playing sports safely outside so that we can help both their physical and mental health at a time that it's needed more than ever.
So let me just ask a question here. I do not know the answer. During the August, September, is that the 2 months, or July, August, that you're allowed to have open contact? How many cases were traced back to the actual activities at the social club?
I know of one. We had one member report to us that they were tested positive with COVID. There was no outbreak because of the leagues. They contracted it somewhere. And so we went through all our protocols of reaching out to the 4 teams that were in their league and made sure everyone was aware and ensured the facility knew and asked everyone to pause and to not come back until they were, tested negative and safe to come back. So, I mean, we've done all the protocols and we're doing contact tracing. We know who's playing at every game and,
But I think the answer there is you had one, and you took
and you don't know if it came from.
Well, they could have gotten it at the grocery store.
Could have gotten it at the Eaton Center, a kegger, on a bus, right?
But even still, we're talking about one. I don't think our goal is to have zero. I think it's to have a reasonable risk to actually have a benefit. And I mean, one out of however many people played during that time, the tens of thousands of people, is a ridiculously low number that isn't even considered. That's what's killing our economy. That's what's killing people from a mental health perspective.
Yeah, and really, that's a great question. What is the goal? Because I remember in March, the goal was flatten the curve. Let's make sure hospitals don't get overrun. Last I checked, hospitals aren't being overrun right now. Right. And the numbers right now in terms of while the cases are up, testing is 800% higher right now than it was in the spring. So it's not really a surprise that there's more cases being coming out, but the actual hospitalizations are way down relative to where they were. And I just wish we could, can we not find a holistic approach that allows, let's take care of the vulnerable and the elderly. 100%, we have to find a way to do that, but is shutting down our entire economy the way we're going to accomplish the goal of flattening the curve? I don't know. I'm very confused right now. And to be honest, you look at medical experts, it seems to me a little bit like the blind leading the blind, because you can hear from one side of medical experts telling us that, this is the case, it's the second wave and it's getting so much worse. And then you have another side of medical experts from, Harvard and Oxford and Stanford talking about this Great Barrington Declaration saying it's crazy, there shouldn't be lockdowns. I'm like, who are we supposed to listen to? Who knows? I don't know the answer, but I don't know who does know.
And to your point, your business, my business, Don's business, we've had 6 months to pivot. The fucking government has had 6 months to get tracing up, to get testing up, to understand how you get the ARP down below 1. to understand, to your point, holistically. And I'm sorry, to your point, it's very frustrating that people can't play beach volleyball. I was at a restaurant about a month ago, had an outdoor table, very safe. A little bit of rain came, we had to move inside. This restaurant was not enforcing masks. There were tables of 18. You can't tell me these people had bubbles of 18. We were sitting very far apart. I actually felt awkward thinking maybe we should just get up and leave. But at the end of the day, and then you're making a decision on a Friday before Thanksgiving weekend. Think how many restaurants had bookings for family dinners for Thanksgiving. So I appreciate our government's conservativeness, not party-wise, and our approach. But I'll pause my rant and ask you one last question. What can people do? So you impact hundreds of thousands of people's lives. Your letter's up there. What do you want people to do? How can we help? How can we bring back play?
Thanks for asking. I think sharing it, and if anyone has contacts that will actually have the government reach out to us, experts in getting adults active, reach out to us and ask for our input into can we perhaps not look at every team sport the same? Can we perhaps look at them individually, as they've done in Chicago, by the way? My friends in Chicago are playing indoor and outdoor right now. They've got high-risk sports, mid-level risk sports, and low-level risk sports, and they're playing. I would also love to speak to our city, especially Toronto specifically, but other cities as well where we play. The city has got a Show Love Toronto mandate that they want to get people outdoor and active this winter.
Right.
We're experts at doing that. I'd love the city to use us as a resource to say, let's have our sport and social group put together some fun programs that can be great for families, youth, adults. We know how to do this. We can get people outside, like clear off the fields. Let us play some outdoor kickball. Let us play some outdoor dodgeball. Let us come up with some fun snow volleyball or snow soccer. We can do this if they'll work with us and help us, help us help them, help us help the people.
All right. Well, and that feels like a scene from Jerry Maguire. So on that note, thank you, Christy. And check out Christy Harold's Facebook page, find the letter, share it with your friends, phone your politicians. So we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump into a couple of quick marketing topics here, and then we're going to finish off with an interesting good news story. So Don, I think we'll accelerate these a little bit. But every week it seems there's another issue around race. And this past week, Stan Richards, the founder of the Richards Group, made a comment to a couple of white creative directors at his agency who were showing him some creative for their client at Motel 6, I believe it was. And he made the comment that one of the ads was too black. And then apparently, allegedly, he went on and made some other comments that the client's customer base were primarily white supremacists, so you couldn't show this diversity ad. Of course, those creatives couldn't bear to keep that a secret. It was shared. Ends up that the Richards Group has been fired by Motel 6, fired by Home Depot, fired by Dr. Pepper. Ironically, the Salvation Army isn't quite sure what to do. And I've actually thought about this a lot, Don, and I'm probably not going to put you on the spot and ask for a comment, but I'll tell you where I come out. I actually feel really badly that an 88-year-old entrepreneur, who, by the way, this morning fired himself. He stepped down from his own company and has built this business. And I think, quite frankly, we have to take him and his team at face value that he did not build a racist company. We might find out in a week or two later that there's skeletons closet, that he said something inappropriate. And that, I'll be blunt. I'll guarantee you that probably at least once a year, unfortunately, last 25 years of my career, I probably said something as bad or worser than too black. And, on the other hand, we do live in a world where we now all, myself included, have to pay much more attention to these things and recognize that it's not acceptable. But I do feel badly that this man's amazing career, it should not be remembered for 2 words. And
the reality, they probably have thousands.
Yeah.
Right. Every creative director, staff that's on there. So I think the comments, 88 might be a little long to be social.
I'll be working at 88.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully socially up to speed with what's going on in the world.
Man, what are we doing on next week's show? Sorry, I cut you off. Hey, let's talk about food. So Kraft Heinz is running an amazing program today. Let's show the video, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So let's go.
Over 4 million Canadians are food insecure. That's why on October 16th, Kraft Heinz is calling on all Canadians to rise up and help feed those in need. Introducing Pantry Day, when Kraft Heinz products you buy are matched and donated to Food Banks Canada. When you pick up dinner for your family, you bring another family together over theirs. Join us on Kraft Heinz Pantry Day. Let's feed Canada together.
Mental health food banks have all been front and center.
Fantastic. I mean, food banks as a cause is as strong as cancer, unfortunately. And the fact is, it's part of the fabric of who they are as Kraft. It makes total sense. It's relevant, compelling, and during the pandemic, there's no better time than to help out with what you can. So I'd give it A+ across the board. And makes total sense. And given all the food manufacturers out there, there's lots more people that still need help. So I think now's the time that people want to jump on the bandwagon and do the Me Too in a different sense and try and help out as many people as can. So I think fantastic job.
Awesome. So if you're watching live, today is Kraft Heinz Pantry Day. Get out to your store and support your food banks. Now let's have a quick look at something that maybe Kraft USA wishes they hadn't done.
In these strange times, people are in need of extra comfort. That's why it's always a nice gesture to send nudes, so they know you're thinking of them. Nudes, not nudes. To be clear, I'm not advocating you send nudes to anyone. I'm talking about nudes, not nudes. I want there to be no confusion. Do not send nudes. Definitely send nudes. Send nudes early and often to everyone. Send nudes never. Maybe to yourself, but even then, sparingly, unless you're talking about nudes, in which case, send away. In the event that there's any confusion about this, let's take a step back. Always send nudes, never nudes. The only thing you should never not send is nudes.
Well, National Noodle Day gone bad for Kraft.
Yeah, comedy fails more time than it works in any commercial, and it's got to be inherent in the brand. And Kraft Dinner is not a funny brand, nor was that obviously a hysterical ad to most of the people that either consume or eat it. So again, I think it's amazing when large companies do things with very little upside and lots of downside. And I think it's just, again, if you look at the two that just went back to back, one makes 100% sense, and someone in that boardroom should say, what's the upside? Like someone in the creative agency had to have the ability to say, really, what's the upside to this? So anyway, I'm not surprised. And again, I think it's a big miss.
Yeah, kind of their Kendall Jenner moment, if I will.
Exactly.
So I'm going to actually flip the order this week. I'm going to say goodbye to you before we show this last video. But the last video we're going to share is a feel-good story. If you haven't heard about it, I don't know about you, Don, but one of the things I miss most in COVID, I'm sure many feel, is travel.
Absolutely.
And this show was named after a walk you and I had on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. But there's an amazing story of a tourist from Japan. Bucket list was go to Machu Picchu. I've been to Peru. Next episode, we'll talk about me almost dying in Peru and how he was just almost at the point where his visa was going to expire, had to leave, and he got to see Machu Picchu. They opened it up for one tourist. Let's roll the video. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you later.
Have a great weekend. Go outside.
This is truly amazing. Thank you, Minister of Culture Alejandro Neira, for letting me see this.
El ciudadano japonés ha ingresado junto con nuestro jefe de parque, el José Bastante en Cusco, en Machu Picchu, perdón, para, digamos, que pueda realizar esto antes de volver, porque en realidad ya La idea de este ciudadano, entiendo, es volver a su país.